We're in the staff kitchen of Current Affairs program Cited. Like most of her colleagues, news editor Kim Cooper heads straight for the coffee first thing in the morning. On this morning, however, there's a problem. Someone else has finished off the milk.
That's just great. Guess I'll be drinking my coffee black this morning. Ugh, I bet it was Nelson. So irresponsible. He knows you're supposed to buy another carton when you use the last drop. It's not like the shop's far away, it's just down the street. So typical of Nelson. He only thinks of himself.
Morning, Kim.
Whatever, Nelson.
What's with her? Talk about crabby in the morning. Couldn't crack a smile for anyone. I really can't stand her. Pity she's my boss. Ah, what? No milk? Oh, that'd be right. Thanks a lot, Kim.
It's a simple enough problem. Both Kim and Nelson have started their days without milk for their coffee, and each person secretly blames the other. It's not yet a conflict, but there is potential in this kind of situation for a conflict to develop. This program is about disputes and conflict in workplace life. We'll look at what is conflict, the role of conflict in the workplace, the conflict spiral, conflict management strategies, and constructive conflict management. In the media, whether newspapers, magazines or television current affairs, large-scale conflicts are reported nearly every day. And while it may seem as though the path to large-scale revolt or worse, war, is long, almost all conflicts begin with much smaller disagreements and disputes. In the workplace too, conflict can begin as a small-scale difference or disagreement.
All right, cut there.
I'd like to leave that going on a little bit more because it's got the good sort of smoke.
And unless managed carefully, small disputes can escalate into larger conflict.
When the smoke comes up.
Stuart, who's directing this piece? I said cut there.
I'm only giving my opinion.
Just do it!
Fine. You do it.
There are two common kinds of workplace conflict. The first is when people's ideas, decisions and actions about a job, a social right or responsibility, or a concept are in opposition. For example,
Right, now to this story on the sackings at the biscuit factory. What sort of angle were you thinking of? I think we should focus on the new workplace laws.
Yeah, I thought of that, but I actually think that's the angle that everyone's going to run with.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is we go with the offshore manufacturing issue.
It's not really anything I'd thought about.
I just think it's the one thing that's going to make this story really stand out.
a conflict of ideas such as this can be productive in the workplace because it can result in the clarification of important issues, result in solutions to problems, allow for the exploration of a variety of ideas, and can help develop cooperation between individuals.
It is a good point, and it's certainly not the obvious angle. Yeah, look, I agree with you. Let's get to work on it.
Great, thanks.
Another common kind of workplace conflict is a personality clash, where two people just don't get along.
Kim Cooper speaking.
Yeah, hi Kim, it's Nelson.
Oh, it's you. What do you want?
Is it possible to get Wednesday next week off?
Well, no, I'm sorry, Nelson. I just can't approve that. We're far too busy. You'll just need to choose a more appropriate day for your leisure activities. That will teach him to use all the milk.
In contrast to a conflict of ideas, personality clashes are rarely productive. They can lead to lower productivity, lower morale, and an increase in absenteeism.
She's relentless. How unreasonable is that? Looks like we're taking a sickie instead.
For people experiencing this kind of personality-based conflict, work can become unpleasant and stressful, and the conflict can have a negative impact on other areas of their life. conflict often begins with a small difference of opinion or a disagreement. The two common types of workplace conflict are conflict of ideas and conflict of personality. Conflict of ideas can be constructive and can lead to the clarification of ideas and provide solutions to problems. Conflict of personality is rarely constructive and can lead to lower productivity and morale.
It's good, but that image should be moved to the right.
The image, we move it to the right, it's typical of every image that we've done before.
I think it'd definitely work better if it's resting in the right.
Look, it's dynamic on the left. We have more movement that shocks
But people's
the viewer.
eyes move from the left-hand side of the page to the right. So
Typically.
it seems perfect to put it in the right.
You
Look,
think?
can you do it for tomorrow?
Whatever your workplace, whether in media, in sales, on the factory floor, at a building site or behind a retail counter, small conflicts are likely to occur on a regular basis. This is because workplaces are made up of individuals whose own unique opinions, experiences and ideas shape their respective approaches to their tasks and responsibilities. These individual experiences and ideas are known as the subjective factors affecting workplace conflict. These may include individual attitudes towards work and the task at hand.
It can stay where it is. I'm just here to do my job from 9 to 5. It's not like they pay me overtime.
Individual ambitions.
Right, we're going to win the television ratings this month, no matter what it takes.
Individual abilities.
Been doing this job for 5 years. I think I know how to do a good edit.
And individual personalities.
Can you keep it down?
The other factors affecting workplace conflict are objective factors, or those factors directly related to the business's rules and culture. These may include business goals,
To average 800,000 viewers each weeknight.
the time allocated to complete specific tasks,
She wants me to move the image, but moving the image means I have to redesign the whole thing.
management style,
Just do it.
and budgets.
I really need some assistance with this work. Can't they bring someone else on, even if only twice a week?
The mix of subjective and objective factors influencing conflict in the workplace can be an explosive mix. Workplaces are made up of individuals with their own unique opinions, experiences and ideas. These influence the subjective factors affecting workplace conflict, such as individual attitudes, ambitions, abilities, and personalities. Other factors affecting workplace conflict are objective, such as the business goals, management style, time limits, and budgets. While small disagreements in the workplace may occur on a daily basis, major conflicts develop over time, often intensifying quickly from a small point of difference to an ongoing disagreement to a major dispute to an all-out conflict.
Cameron, this looks the same as yesterday.
I didn't move it.
What's going on? I asked you to move the image.
I said I thought it was fine where it was. I didn't have time to move it.
Well, you could have done it last night.
And you could afford to pay me some overtime.
Look, I need you to move it now.
When a difference of opinion is not immediately resolved and each party's needs remain the same, the initial dissatisfaction tends to build into stronger disagreement, resentment, and resistance. This is known as a conflict spiral, where what begins as a difference of opinion can escalate into a heated debate, and then into a shouting match, and sometimes even a physical confrontation. This often results in increased heat, aggression, and general unpleasantness. In a conflict spiral, the tactics used by one party, such as demanding or aggressive behaviour, will often lead to the other party adopting similar tactics in defence. This spiral can usually only be broken by deliberately changing its direction by making a positive suggestion.
Well, you could afford to pay me some overtime.
We can't afford to pay you overtime, and you know that. But I would still really like this moved. How about I get Sally to give you a hand with your workload this morning? And then maybe you'll have time to fix it up.
Well, that would be a help.
Good.
A conflict spiral can also be broken when a third party is controlling the discussion or debate. The third party can do this by preventing the disputing parties from interrupting one another and by controlling who is speaking and what is being said.
Stuart, who's directing this piece? I said cut there.
I'm only giving my opinion.
So let's hear it then.
What?
Your opinion. I stand outside this door every day listening to the two of you argue over which shot to use. What's your opinion?
I just reckon the grab would be a little bit more powerful if we let it run on a little bit. You know, let the smoke take over the screen.
Great. And what's your opinion?
I think we've got to keep the piece short. The shorter the grabs, the better.
Okay, can we run it another couple of seconds?
No, I suppose the smoke looks okay. A few more seconds yet.
Major conflicts develop over time, from difference to disagreement to a major dispute and finally an all-out conflict. This happens when initial disagreements are not immediately resolved. The process is known as a conflict spiral. In a conflict spiral, tactics used by one party will usually be mirrored by the other. The spiral can usually only be broken by one party deliberately changing its position with positive suggestions. It can also be broken in instances where a third party becomes a moderator.
Okay, so Nelson's copy for the website has come through. This should be interesting. Yep, I can see mistakes all the way through it. This copy is due on the website in an hour, and he calls himself an editor. Nelson, get in here right now.
What's her problem now? She's always at me. But if I ever need anything, like, say, a day off next week, no, she can't help. As for her tone, I don't know what I did to make her like this with me. Hasn't she ever heard of pleasantries? Hi, Nelson, how are you? I'm well, thanks. Would you mind dropping by to see me for a minute? Surely it's not that hard.
While not yet a full-blown conflict, this situation has all the signs of the beginning stages of the conflict spiral. Both Kim and Nelson have competing needs. Kim's need is to get the copy on the website. Nelson's need is for a hard-earned break from his work and for a more positive relationship with Kim. In addition, it is clear that both Kim and Nelson harbour some yet-to-be-addressed negative feelings and resentment towards each other, and that these feelings have existed for some time. Kim is concerned about the deadline for publication of material for the website, but other issues exist as well. Primarily, the issue of her attitude towards Nelson, which Nelson perceives as arrogant and self-centred. At this point in the conflict cycle, Kim and Nelson have some choices to make about how best to handle the situation. The choices available to them are known as conflict management strategies, and these include avoidance, submission, force, cooperation, and collaboration. The avoidance strategy involves flight from conflict, or an effort to sidestep or ignore the conflict. Let's take a look at how Nelson might use the avoidance strategy in his altercation with Kim.
Look, Kim, before you say anything, I want to offer my resignation.
In this scenario, Nelson has successfully avoided addressing the real issue with Kim and has instead avoided any conflict by promptly resigning from his job. In taking this approach, however, Nelson has also rendered himself unemployed. He has lost the opportunity to work in the highly competitive world of television current affairs, and he's also lost an opportunity to develop conflict management skills that may help him in the future. Avoidance is not usually an effective strategy in managing workplace conflict, as ignoring the conflict will not necessarily make it go away. Most conflicts are only resolved when some direct action is taken. The second strategy Nelson could use to deal with the conflict is submission. Submission means to surrender, give up, comply with demands, and deny one's own needs in order to diffuse conflict.
Look, I'm sorry, Kim. I know my work hasn't been up to standard. I'm really sorry.
A person who automatically yields to others in every circumstance will probably do themselves more harm than good. This is because a person who feels continually obligated to give in may eventually stop caring about their work and develop problems with self-esteem. It also means the core conflict issue is never addressed, so that the conflict cycle remains intact. Nelson's next option is to use force. The use of force means fighting to win and to use power, whether psychological or physical, to impose demands.
Look, Kim, I'm getting sick of this. I'm sick of your attitude and I'm sick of your demands. This stops right now. Do you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, Nelson. You know what? You can pack up your desk and get out of here. You're finished here.
People who rely on force to achieve their goals often assume their opponents will submit quickly to their demands. In reality, however, most people dislike feeling forced into situations against their will and will often use any means available to resist the use of force. For Nelson, this has resulted in an unexpected backlash. He has lost his job. So the strategies of avoidance, submission, and force have failed Nelson at this time. He still has two more constructive strategies available to him: compromise and collaboration. We'll look at these in the next chapter. Avoidance, submission, and force are all strategies used in the management of conflict. Avoidance means ignoring the conflict and is not considered a successful method of conflict management because it fails to address the conflict issue. Submission means to surrender and comply with any demands made. Doing so means the conflict issue is not addressed, and this can lead to resentment and low self-esteem. The use of force requires using power to impose demands on others. Most people dislike being forced into situations and use other means to resist the force used. Perhaps the most constructive conflict management strategies are those of compromise and collaboration. Compromise means meeting halfway, both giving and taking, and making some sacrifices to achieve a desired outcome. Collaboration means working together to achieve the best possible outcomes for all parties. But effective conflict management involves more than the choice of an appropriate strategy. Firstly, it involves assessing the situation as objectively as possible and remaining aware of any subjective emotions.
Nelson, get in here right now.
Yeah. What's her problem now? She's always at me. But if I ever need anything, like, say, a day off next week, no, she can't help. Okay, I've got to calm down. There's no point responding to her emotionally. That'll only make things worse. I've got to work out what's going on and what I need to say.
After assessing the situation, the next step is to collect all accurate information that will help you resolve the conflict. This may involve making a phone call to a colleague, checking back over old email communication, or investigating any recently completed work or reports.
Well, I've just spoken to a colleague. Seems Kim's under a lot of pressure to get the website up. I guess that could explain her attitude. Maybe it's not just a personal attack on me.
The next step is to identify what you want from the situation. Knowing your end goal will help you keep the discussion positive and enable you to state your position clearly.
Okay, so what do I want from this meeting? I want firstly to find out exactly what the problem is, so I'll have to listen to what she has to say. But now I've got an opportunity to speak with her. I also want to address the issue of this attitude. I don't like working in this kind of situation. I don't want to dislike my colleagues. What I want is a positive working environment. I suppose I could look at my own attitude too. I suppose I'm not always pleasant to Kim either.
Engaging in assessment, information collection, goal identification and self-reflection will help you to manage conflict in the most constructive way. These steps will also assist you in choosing the most appropriate strategy for conflict resolution.
Nelson, the edit job you've done on this text is appalling. There are mistakes all through it. This is the second time I've had to pick you up on your sub-editing mistakes in 2 weeks. What's the problem?
What's the problem? There is no problem. I haven't made any mistakes until you got here. I think you're the problem. You put me under so much pressure that it's having an impact on my work.
Oops, this hasn't started well. Nelson has abandoned his strategy and gone for the use of force. This leaves the path open for Kim to retaliate with force. Unless...
I'm sorry, Kim. I just lost my temper and I've been under a lot of pressure lately and it's just come to a head. Look, show me the document. I'm quite happy to try and fix any mistakes.
By making a positive suggestion, Nelson has broken the conflict spiral. His suggestions show that both he and Kim have similar needs. They both want to solve the editing problem.
This really can't continue to happen, Nelson. It's all very well for you to fix the mistakes now, but what about the next time and the time after that? I can't keep checking your work every second.
This is Nelson's opportunity to address the real issue here, his relationship with Kim. Will he do it, or will he continue to avoid the issue?
Look, Kim, there's something I wanted to talk to you about.
What?
Our working relationship. I know I can't come to you every time I've got a problem, but you're my boss and I have to feel I can talk to you.
You can talk to me.
Well, every time I do, you either bite my head off or make some sort of sarcastic remark. It makes me feel uncomfortable talking to you.
Nobody else feels like that.
Well, maybe it's just me. The point is, I feel uncomfortable. I prefer a positive working relationship with you. I think that would help my work as well.
So you're saying it's my fault that your work's not up to standard?
No, Kim. Look, I'm saying that I find the difficulty of our relationship stressful. I think it has an impact on my work. If you give me the copy back, I will re-edit it and I will make sure that there are no mistakes from now on. I'll cross-check everything. But I wonder if you could spare a thought for my feelings? Look, I know you're really busy and I know you're under pressure, but I have to know I can talk to you without you snapping at me.
How long have you felt this way?
For quite a while.
Look, if it will improve the standard of your work, then it's worth a try. But I'll really expect a sharp rise in the quality of your editing, Nelson. And if you could keep the whistling down a bit too. I find it really irritating.
Kim has accepted Nelson's compromise, but has also offered one of her own. This means both parties are actively engaging in conflict resolution.
Okay, that's the deal. I'll have this back to you within the hour. Oh, one more thing. About the time off.
Why don't you help me get this website up and running first? Then we'll organise some time off. Sound like a plan?
Yeah. Anything else needs doing?
Well,
In the short time of the meeting, Nelson and Kim have moved from conflict to collaboration. They've been able to stop the escalation of the conflict spiral, and they're working constructively on a strategy to prevent further conflict in the future. This will have benefits for each of them and for the business generally. Compromise and collaboration are constructive conflict management strategies. because they result in both parties working towards a desired outcome. Effective conflict management also requires assessing the situation, collecting accurate information, identifying end goals, and engaging in self-reflection. No matter what your workplace, disagreement is an inevitable part of working life. This is because workplaces comprise many individuals, each with their own ideas, opinions, and experiences. But differences and disagreements do not have to turn into major conflict. People can break the conflict spiral by remaining positive, assessing the situation, engaging in some self-reflection,
Got milk?
and adopting a suitable conflict management strategy. This will help keep the workplace a more positive place for everyone.
Hey, I got milk.